You must unite what is missing.
We are T.F.R.
Truth Frequency Radio.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of election, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
And now, welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Here's your host from FederalJack.com. It's Popeye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition of DTRH. It is January 12th, 2016. Wow. We're almost halfway through January already. It's already the 12th. What? Where did the year already go? What the hell happened there? Whoa. I blinked and poof, it flew right by.
We're getting older.
Seriously, Ken. Now, if you haven't figured out by now, ladies and gentlemen, I have a guest co-host with me tonight. Somebody who I've been trying to get on for the past month, and every time I schedule him, something comes up on my end, not on his. And I had to reschedule. And this is someone who I've been dying to get back on for a while. We've been doing broadcasts again lately together, and one of my closest personal friends, on the planet, is like a family member to me, and a truth veteran, I guess you could say, an original YouTuber, and an all-around great guy. Now, who the hell could I be talking about? Well, none other than Kenneth Webb, a.k.a. ChangeDaChannel. What up, brother?
Hey, how's it going, brother? Thanks for having me. I'm glad we're together tonight because we've been having to renegade the show.
Yeah, I gave you guys the show a couple times because it just things were a bit hectic. We'll say I had a lot going on. So yeah, everything's back under control, damage controlled, so to speak. So for the next 2 hours, we're going to be going over a few things. One of the major things we're going to be discussing tonight, Ken, which you and I talked a little bit about off air, is this huge divide in humanity. And not just in the U.S., but it's also worldwide. And we're going to expand on that. And I even have some audio that I'm going to play tonight. A couple pieces of inspirational audio that I've put together over the years, and I dug them out. It's been a while, and I think the listeners need to hear them. And I also wanted to touch on the State of the Union address that's going to be going on in about 2 hours. Two short hours from now, the puppet in chief will be going on and doing his last State of the Tyranny address.
They say he's going to do something a little different. It's going to be a different one this time, and I'm like,
God.
Right. He's going to do for his finale, his grand finale. It's going to be me. I've been so great, and I did this, and anything that he's going to say that he couldn't do was because of, of course, the other same side of the coin, but, he'll just put it off on the Republicans, or whatever. He couldn't do what he wanted to do and yada, yada, yada. But still, The best president of all time. He's going to give himself, like Nana was saying on Kev's show, he's going to give himself all A's. I did great this, maybe an A- he might give himself. But, that yak, I'm so glad it's his last one. Give us somebody new to get into, because I'm sick of him. I can't, and his followers too. The followers are the ones that really get me. And, the Republicans going to get in. If they get in, they're not going to do anything different. They will do things different, but it's all for the ends, same ends. They just, but just a new face, I would even accept Biden or even Hillary would be the same, a lot of his crap too, but at least it'd be a new face, just a new face to have to look at, and be in that head puppet chair.
I want to know if in a year and a half, all the people that support Obama right now and think he's the greatest president and support all of his policies will be bashing the Republican that they put in, who pushes the same exact policies, and yet they'll be like, "This guy's a tyrant. He's a dick. He's making a police state. Look what he's doing already." And it's like, can I just point out that he's just picking up where your best friend seemed to have left off? Just saying. So,
and exactly. And what are they going to say? They're going to say the same thing when they first get in. They're going to be like, "Well, they haven't been in that long. Give them a chance." It's the same song and dance that they always say. They said it about Obama. Give him a chance. He's cleaning up after Dillweed's mess and all of this stuff. Just give him a chance. And I'm like, nah, geez, here we go again. But I like we were talking about before the show, I hope a Republican gets in just for the followers. Like we were talking about, like YouTube, and because Google's a liberal company, really. I mean, for the workers anyway. Twitter, Facebook. I'm looking forward to not getting harassed by those turds and leave my, they love us again, just like the followers. We see a lot of people who used to listen to us back when Bush was in. They'll come back around. "Oh, you're the greatest." And they'll start calling us patriots and true patriots and all of this stuff. And then some of the people that are listening to us now, like I've been making videos over the last year, the last 2 years alone, telling people, just putting it flat out there, I'm going to lose a lot of you people. Just straight out. I know I'm going to lose a lot of you people and everything, because you're going to hate me. You're going to be like, "Give me a chance." And they'll say some of the same crap, "How can you talk about our commander in chief like that?" Blah, blah, blah.
Can you do that Joe Average American again voice? That was awesome. That was
that's what they do. They always got the same stuff to say, no matter what. I mean, I'm just wondering who's going to get in. Who are they going to let in? I ain't going to say who the people actually vote for. I mean, it's already pretty apparent, If they say, "Oh, if you vote for this guy, well, we're not going to let him in anyway, or her in, or whatever, unelectable," and all of the same rigmarole. But it goes back to the divide thing, like you're talking about. We were going to get into tonight. It's very imperative for them to have two sides. There has to be a black, there has to be a white, there has to be a right, there has to be a left. There's got to be country, there's got to be rock and roll. There has to be something that divides the people. And it's been like that. I don't think this just started in the last 20, 40 years. This thing's been going on for thousands of years, and probably even further as far as we know. But I'm just talking about like written history. It's always been keep the people fighting amongst each other, and the people go right along with it. People will go like, look at even on the two sides, you split them into the left paradigm and the right paradigm. And then within those two groups, you have all the little factions in there hating on each other too, because you got to hate on everybody. Everybody's got to hate everybody. And I can tell you one thing that Obama has really pushed is a big divide. The people who control him and people who work with him has really pushed more of a divide than Bush. And I hate to say that, but, the further they go along, and I'm sure the next one will do the same exact thing, pushing that divide so far that it's just ridiculous. It doesn't even, I don't understand how people can fall for the same crap all the time. It's just like, wow, how old are you? and you haven't seen all this stuff and experienced this stuff and the hypocrisy that people say. It's like I've been working on the followers, and I've been working on this thing since when he came into office, and I just haven't put it out. I'll put a little mini version of it out, but I've been working on it the last, I guess, month, 2 months or something, and I'm not going to say when it's going to out because I suck at really trying to put out something by a date, because I have more stuff I want to put in. I didn't get to edit and all this, but it's called The Followers, and it's all about that. Just how when he came into office, when Obama came in office, I couldn't tell a difference. I mean, the script got so flipped that I could not tell the difference from what all of the people that were hating me before had flipped and were treating me the same way that the people that used to like me and watch my videos and listen to me. And I couldn't tell them apart from the people who were hating me before. It's just, it's like, and that's why I'm curious about, how this whole thing's going to come out if a Republican wins the election, is I just got that feeling people are going to, who hadn't listened to me and since the entire time he's been in office, are going to come back crawling across that fence. And I look at that as an opportunity to get them, just like when the script was flipped and the right wingers started to come and listen to me and everything. And I looked at it as an opportunity to grab them then and say, look, do you hear the words that are coming out of your mouth? You're saying the exact same things that your supposed enemies over here were saying when they were in your position. When Bush was in office, they're saying the same thing. How can you not support your commander-in-chief and give him a chance? He's the president. Show him some respect and all of these things, no bad talking the commander-in-chief. And, it was definitely a big highlight, I thought, because, Fox News would do it. We're in a time of war. Do not, dare talk about the commander-in-chief. But, yeah, then you have, as soon as Obama gets in, all of a sudden, hey, it's okay to badmouth the commander-in-chief, So it's really interesting. It's an interesting time.
How dare you talk about the commander-in-chief now? 9/11 truth went away. All of the street actions went away, and the Fed, all of that went away. And then the Tea Party came out, and all of a sudden they got corrupted and co-opted, and that was it. And then all of that kind of died off. So I am interested to see if their puppet, quote unquote, Republican side of the bullshit two-sided coin. It's like the Janus coin. It's, two heads, same coin. Same people. It's like the Federal Jack logo. They call him Uncle Jack. It's that shadowy, shady Uncle Sam character. And he's got a puppet on each hand, and the eyes are mesmerizing you. It's all bullshit. It's an illusion of choice. They're all on the same team. And they, like Ken said earlier, they have to break it down. See, that's the magic of their power, Ken. That's the mind control. They break it down into the illusion of choice between A or B. And you only get an A or B. You can't have a third, a fourth, a fifth, because then you start to think outside the box. They have to give you one of two choices, and it can only be one of those two choices because both of those choices are controlled. So it doesn't matter if you pick a Republican or a Democrat. It's going to be the same agenda. They just do it. They flip-flop back and forth to do it as to be like a pressure relief valve. And I'd be surprised if they really put Hillary in. I really would, unless they're trying to cause a civil war. But on the other side of the coin, if they put in, the faux Republican, oh, we're going to come in and save the day. We're conservatives, right? I really think it's going to be Rubio and Jeb Bush. And I've been saying this for over a year. People can go back and listen in the archives of my shows. I've been saying this for over a year. I think if I could be wrong, but if there's, if Trump does what I think he's going to do and bails out at the last minute or goes Libertarian Party, whatever, right? I think the GOP will have Rubio and Bush. And I say that because you got Jeb Bush was a member of PNAC, right? Project for a New American Century. The scumbags that brought you 9/11. Their white paper that came out in 2000 called Rebuilding America's Defenses. It was 99 or 2000 this white paper came out. PNAC, Project for a New American Century, a quote-unquote think tank. They come out with this paper, and in it, they want to build a Pax Americana, basically. They want to build They want to turn it into Rome 2.0. They want to turn America into like the Roman Empire, like we've become. And this paper said that we couldn't do this. They laid out their entire plan, the whole 7 countries in 5 years plan that Wesley Clark talked about. They laid all that out. And then they said that they couldn't do this and they couldn't transform the military, and they also wanted to change domestic policy, which they have, right? Department of Homeland Security. None of that would be possible without, and I quote from their white paper, a catastrophic and catalyzing new event, such as a new Pearl Harbor. So they say that they need a catalyzing and catastrophic event, such as a new Pearl Harbor. And then, like little over a year later, 3/4 of these people are in the Bush administration, and 9/11 happens. And what did Georgie Porgy Pudding and Pie call 9/11 that night, Ken, in his diary? He called it this generation's Pearl Harbor. Yep. So there's that with Jeb. And then with Marco, do you know what his campaign slogan is? A new American century.
Is it really? I did not know that.
Yes. And he's been saying we need a, quote, new American century for over a year. He was doing interviews last year on MSNBC. I wrote an article about it when I saw the video. And I include.
So you think he's going to be vice president?
I think if anything, they'd put Jeb as vice president and put Rubio as the president because he's young, he's charismatic. Just like with JFK, young, charismatic, and they get LBJ in there. You get LBJ in there, and he didn't really have the power that he thought he was going to have as vice president. But Bush mastered that because, look, he was the father was vice president when Reagan was president, and he pretty much ran the country, not Reagan, Bush Sr. So it'll be the same thing. They'll just put Jeb in there, and then they'll have another string puller in there, and they'd have Rubio as a front man. Young, charismatic Latino running for president. They already put a black guy in. They can't do that demographic again, so they have to do either the first woman or the first Latino. And because Hillary's such an evil, she's not even human, reptilian, like Diana from V, where she's going to rip her skin off and you're going to see the lizard beneath. Because she's so evil and there's just so many people against her. I mean, there's even people in the establishment that are against her because the Clintons are such scumbags, right? So you can see they're tanking her, or else none of this stuff would be coming out about her. Although the media is totally, they love her. It's disgusting. I mean, just the way that they blow over everything that comes out. They justify it. Oh, Hillary's great. Blah. I mean, it's totally disgusting. Anybody that doesn't realize that this is a selection at this point, it's not an election. It's a selection. You're watching the presidential reality show. It's all bullshit. It's all scripted bullshit is what it is. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to be, it's just garbage. No, it's absolute, pure, 100% unadulterated bullshit is what it is. It stinks. I can smell it from here, and it's in Washington.
Yep. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. I think she's too much of a, with all the bones popping out her closet. But Bush, man, I find that pretty interesting because at first I was like, Jeb's in. It's all over. He's going to get it. But they do all them polls, and polls ain't really crap. When you poll, what do you poll? Like 1,000 people? Oh, he's winning on this poll and winning on that poll. They poll, and they get what? They call people. They call like 500 to 1,000 people, and then they do this. So I wonder why they are directing these polls towards Trump. I mean, really, if he's going to drop out at the last moment, like you said, or they're going to pull something, at the RNC and all that on him or something like that. Because I kind of want Trump to get in. Like I said, I'm not going to vote. There's no way in the world I waste my vote on any of these turds at all because it's all a sham. But I just really would like him to get in because I think, oh, my goodness gracious. I mean, imagine. It'd be like Biden getting in. Man, if Biden was running, I'd hope Biden get in because, that would be a gaffe a minute. And it makes it easier to expose these people when you put idiots in there. It's easier to wake people up. If you get these like this hardcore criminal cats up there, you know, in the big puppet seat, it's harder to expose them because if they speak eloquently and all of this, I mean, at least enough to fool the average person in the masses. You know, and then, you know, like people still support Obama and stick behind him as the greatest president of all time. Still, I'm like, what? Really? Did you just not pay attention to the last 7 years? Really? I mean, it's crazy. Bush was the greatest president of all time. What?
Dude,
really?
I have a friend.
He kept it safe. He kept it safe. I'm like, how can you say that logically? When did 9/11 happen? On his watch. So therefore, how can you say that he kept anybody safe at all?
You just described like two people I know. Were you in my house during a conversation I recently had while I was on the phone with someone? I mean, were you listening in for real? No, all kidding aside, you're at like 2,000% correct, for real. I actually have a good friend I've argued with about Obama, and he's like, no, he's the greatest president. I'm like, okay, look, I don't really idolize people, but if you want to talk about presidents that at least tried to do something, I said, you know, you got like the founding fathers and those guys, and then I would say like Kennedy. And I know Kennedy, he made a lot of mistakes as president too. He did things in the beginning I didn't agree with at all. But what he was doing in the end cost him his head in the middle of Dealey Plaza. And I haven't seen anybody step up to the plate since to do anything close.
Exactly.
But yet, like people, I've had an argument with my good friend about this to the point where I can't talk to him anymore. I haven't talked to him in probably like 6 months because I can't deal with the stupidity. Because every time I'll tell him, like, we'll get into a conversation about Obama taking guns, and he's a gun owner, and he's like, well, I don't agree with him on guns. I think he's wrong. Oh, and he's a Christian. He's a hardcore Christian. And he doesn't like that Obama bashes Christianity, yet he still thinks he's the greatest president on the planet. Ever. Ever. In like the history of ever, in any country ever. Thinks he's like, the sun doesn't, like the sun rises and sets on him. Thinks he walks on water. It's ridiculous. And it's all, it's all propaganda. It's all because he was just built up. Who is he? Who was he before he became the president? What great things did he do? Or what was he involved in? He wasn't really anything. I mean, Wayne Madsen, dropped that little gem years and years and years ago. I interviewed him on my show when I first started doing radio like 4 years ago, when he wrote his book, The Manufacturing of a President. That's a really good book. Obama's a CIA creation. This whole birth certificate thing, I even said to Wayne Madsen, I was like, that whole thing's a red herring bullshit issue as well. It's to get people to, argue about that. It's something that's easily destroyed. It's actually it's not even a red herring. It's like a straw man. Because you can argue that, and that can be easily defeated by them, right? Even if the birth certificate is fake, like, it makes you wonder why they released such an obviously fake birth certificate, the one with all the Photoshop layers and stuff. Why would they do that? Because it keeps that going. It keeps people on that instead of focusing on that he's a CIA creation. Now, why would you have a CIA creation in the White House? Why would the CIA have anything in the White House? Isn't that illegal, Popeye? Yeah, maybe you should look at what the CIA really is. Well, aren't they a government agency? That doesn't make any sense. No, they're actually a private corporation that has a charter with the United States government. They work for the government, but they're actually technically, even though I know people think they're a government agency, technically they're not. Technically, they're a private corporation. And therein lies a huge, massively huge problem. Again, private corporations. We live in a corporatocracy. Isn't that what John Perkins, the economic hitman, the former economic hitman? I got to get him on. I got to hit him up again. I haven't talked to him in a while. I got to get him on the show and talk to him. Wealth of information.
He's the one who wrote the book, right?
Yeah, he wrote a couple books. There's Economic Hitman, Confessions of an Economic Hitman, and I can't remember what the second one is. I have both books. If you go on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen, look up John Perkins and listen to his interviews. Listen to the Confessions of an Economic Hitman interviews. And listen to what he's talking about. That's what politics is. That's what this is going on in Washington. All you're seeing is these corporatocracy executives being changed out. That's it. You're just seeing corporate executive being changed out for a new face. It's like if Google or Amazon or whoever changed out its CEO. That's it. You're not seeing you're not seeing an actual change in policy.
Exactly. It's the revolving door. I mean, look at all the lobbyists who come in and out of government. They lobby, to the government, and then next thing you know, they're in positions in the Senate or in Congress and or in the White House or any of this, and then next thing you know, they spend some years there greasing elbows. Next thing you know, they back in the private sector, around on K Street, owning a lobbyist firm or working for one. It's just such a revolving door that, I just can't believe people don't see these people, especially when they give their resumes. Here's this senator or congressman that, has all of this. They own this, they work through these corporations and all of these kinds of things. And the next thing you know, they're in a position to, like they work at the EPA or the FDA. And, it's just such a conflict of interest that, and it's so mass. And it's been going on for so long. I'm really surprised that people don't really pay at least a little bit attention, because I know that, politics is boring. I mean, to the average person, they don't want to know anything about, they can't even tell you the 3 branches of the government. They can't tell you anything about it. All they know is what they're told. But at least from the taglines and the headlines and the things that are out there, the way you see all of these scandals and all of these things going on, and people getting, in trouble or getting fired and released, and, whatever it is, there's always something going on, and it's been going on for a very long time, that should be an identifier to the public out there. I mean, even just people don't really pay attention to it, that, hey, it's all corrupt. Unless they just throw their hands up and just accept that it's all corrupt and that's the way it's always been, and then they just go about their daily life anyway.
That's what they do. That's exactly what they do. I'm going to cut us off because the break's sneaking up. I say vote for yourself 2016, and I'll get into that when we come back from break. Vote for yourself 2016. If everybody did, then this whole charade would come crashing down around their frigging ears. We'll be right back.
Warning. Warning. The following message will destroy your paradigm. Proceed with caution. The apocalypse is upon us, brothers and sisters. The great revealing is now. The people have spoken and will no longer be manipulated by snake oil salesmen, masquerading as talk networks and alternative media. The new standard is set. This is the line in the sand. Stand with us to fulfill the mission to raise the consciousness of humanity. Stand against us and be exposed by the light we shine. We are TFR, your 100% listener-supported station, and the last bastion of unadulterated truth. Join the media shift by becoming a TFR supporter today, and send a clear message that the mission will not be jeopardized by corporate greed. Together, we will stand as protection from deception.
For over 3,000 years, we've been in the background, controlling governments from behind the scenes and creating a new world order. However, we are losing the war, and we need your help. Join the Illuminati now. Travel the world injecting poor brown-skinned people with vaccines. Steal their oil and their gold. Or perhaps you'd like a job as a farmer, growing genetically modified corn, which we make into oil and sell it with no label. Or if you've ever wanted to be a pilot, you could join our chemtrails project. You'd be in the air all the time then. Oh yes, it's time to join the Illuminati. Oh, and don't forget to like us on Facebook.
We are submersed in a construct that was designed to break us and keep us broken. But it hasn't. It failed. We still go on because we were designed from an eternal template of infinite creativity and not a synthetic house of cards built on pride and false power. Breaking free from the programs and paradigms that hold us down takes courage, endurance, tenacity, and trust. The reason it is so hard is because to be a free and sovereign being, we have to smash every lie, even if it hurts. it is good to be reminded of how resilient, unbreakable, magnificent and powerful we truly are. And if anything provides a foundation for that, it is the book, Our Universal Journey. Go to ouruniversaljourney.com.au.
Your DIY Health with Jim Ram. Thursdays on Truth Frequency Radio.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. So, Ken, when we went to break, I had said that I personally think everybody should vote for themselves 2016. That's going to be my slogan. Vote for yourself 2016. Imagine if 350 million people all voted for themselves. So 350 million votes in this country were all for, like, each one was an individually different name and a different individual. And nobody voted for these puppets. And everybody, imagine if everybody could just do that and just like, look, try this and you'll see my point. You'll see how fake the election is. And if everybody did it and or if enough people did it and they still come out with their, because in order to rig the votes the way they do electronically, you have to have the vote very close.
Right. Yeah, that would, I wonder how they would play that. I wonder how you would have to have the way the individual could, because we had the means to do it with social media. I mean, to say like, hey, I didn't vote for any of these turds. What do you mean? Hey, I just talked to, on social media, I just talked to thousands of people who said, hey, they voted for themselves. They didn't vote for these people. How did these votes come out for this person or that person?
And as well as I do with social media and the internet and forums and stuff, within hours it would be all over the place that there was a major issue and that all these people had voted for themselves, and that tallying the vote numbers, everything is off, and how is it 48 to like 51 or 52, whatever, how is it that close, or and maybe it's like 47-51 and then like a couple for the libertarians so that it doesn't look too shady, right? Because the libertarian candidate only ever gets like 3% of the vote. So they'll chuck a couple votes that way. Or they'll block just enough to keep it at 3%, somewhere around there. And if that happened, it would just show like I said, it would come crashing down around their ears. It would show the falsality, I don't even know if that's a real word. You know what I mean? It would show the falsehood. Maybe that's the better, proper grammar and proper English. It would show just how completely fake this whole thing is. It's a frigging puppet show. It's a reality TV show. You have the presidential reality TV show right now. And it's like Survivor. They're working it down until the very end. Who will stay on the island and run the show, Ken?
It's basically the only way. That, or none of the above kind of vote, something like that is the only way that we could break this cycle. Because you can vote for a third party candidate all day. I mean, we know that's just not going to happen. Excuse me, it's just not going to happen at all. So the only way you could break the cycle, one of the ways that I, just talking about this specific tactic, would to really break down the system and show what the American public really thinks. Because I'm so sick and tired of every time, every politician, everybody always says, this is what the American public wants. This is what the American public is thinking, blah, 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 blah. All the time, that's what these turds say. And I'm sitting there thinking like, well, I'm part of the American public and I have friends and people and family and all this stuff. And I don't hear nobody I know, I do know people, but majority of the people that I talk to now anyway, they don't think that way. They don't, you're speaking for an entire, hundreds of millions of people and saying this is what they want, this is what and it couldn't be anything farther from the truth. So the only way to really break that would be for the actual populace to come out and do something like that. Because if you go out and go, I'm going to vote for the lesser of two evils, well, you don't want Trump to get in or you don't want Hillary to get in. Well, voting that way like they did before. And I know plenty of people that actually went out and voted, and they voted for the lesser of two evils crap, which I think is the biggest waste of all time. I mean, that's just such a waste. That's even more waste than voting for who you actually wanted, really.
Voting for the lesser of two evils is still voting for evil.
Exactly. Just by the terminology alone, that's what you're doing, and that's just logic.
You're still part of the problem. You know what I'm saying? If you're voting for evil, you're part of the problem. Man, well, Popeye, I have to vote for somebody. I mean, you two are crazy, Popeye and Ken. You gotta vote. No, what happens if nobody voted? What if nobody either went, 350 million people, or even enough, like I said, a large enough percentage, like 33% of that, say, right? Let's say even 40%. We'll round it up. Well, I know because I said 33. Oh, my God, Illuminati. I'm just kidding. Anyway, so like 40% of the vote, right? Say nobody shows up, or 40% of the people vote for themselves. You're going to have a large problem because now there's not enough left for them to oh my God, look, Hillary won or Jeb won or whoever they put in it, right? There's a huge problem because now enough people would be like, well, I didn't vote for them. I voted for myself. And again, social media and the internet, and it would get out. I mean, that's the kind of thing you need. In order to get people to stop buying into this paradigm, because it's what helps that divide and conquer mentality. It's part of that illusion of choice, right? A or B. You got to pick a side, and that's the division. And they split. That's the political division. And then there's racial division and other stuff, which we're going to get into too. But they need you to pick a side. Well, if nobody picked the side and everybody was like, you know what, you two want to, if you guys want to argue, you do it amongst yourselves. Screw you guys. You guys can go off in the corner and yell at each other or have a circle jerk. We don't care what you do. But don't involve us. Meanwhile, we're going to go run the country because you people are all psychos and idiots and obviously have no mental capacity whatsoever to be doing the job you're doing. Period. End of story. You're all fired. You're all public servants. You're not our rulers. This isn't Rome.
You would need some way to prove. You would need some way to people, because they'll stay this lie and say all these people voted when they really did. So you would need some way, like, I don't know, whether a website or something out there for people to be able to go and say, I did not vote, or I voted for myself, or whatever it was. Some way for them some way to put it out there for other people to see, to prove it,
Well, we could come up with that. I mean, if everybody sat down, the listeners, people out there tuned in right now, listening to this is an idea I literally just came up with while we were chatting here on air, right? So let's expand on it. Vote for Yourself 2016. Graphic designers, help me out. Let's make some memes. Let's get this going. Let's make T-shirts. Let's make stickers. Vote for Yourself 2016 because you'll do a better job than any of these scumbags ever would. How about that? There's your slogan. Because you'll care about your kids. Huh?
If I had the money, I mean, we can do it as a group to get it together. But if I, like the big lottery or anything that I would never ever hit, and I don't even play it anyway, so therefore I wouldn't win anyway. But if I ever had some level of money, I always thought, and I've been thinking that for years, doing the, a vote of no confidence, kind of thing. But it always came into play in theorizing about is how can you prove that? Because they'll just lie and say all the people voted and they didn't really vote. So it would have to be big enough, and you have to get the message out there and have some way to at least people saying, hey, I didn't vote, or I voted for myself, or I voted for Mickey Mouse, or whoever, whatever it was. To be able to put it out there. That way you could take that statistic and go like, well, hey, look at all these people didn't vote. Where are their locations? How many people actually supposedly voted in these areas and everything and they're saying they voted when nobody really voted. And then you can make a big, huge thing. I think it's an awesome idea, no doubt, Popeye. And it's just following through and getting people, to be able to show everybody that nobody voted. I mean, else people would sit at home and say, I didn't vote, or I voted, and all of this. And they wouldn't be able to have a place, an outlet for them to be able to put that out there. Like, yes, because that in itself would be a vote. a vote of no confidence in any of the turds that are being presented. No doubt. I think it's a beautiful idea.
Yeah, and it's not a wasted vote. It'd be the one time your vote actually wasn't wasted.
Exactly.
Vote for yourself because you'll take care of your children way better than these scumbags ever would. Vote for yourself because you'll take care of your neighbors better than these scumbags ever would. And vote for yourself, most importantly, because it'll bring this bullshit facade down around their ears. It'll make it come crashing down. Imagine if they only had enough. Imagine, Ken, if enough people voted that there was only, or didn't vote. Say there was like 40% that did this. The other 60% voted for whoever. Now it's broken up 30% maybe, right? Or like maybe 40%, 20%. That's still a problem because that's not enough of a percentage for the vote. Wouldn't they have to have a revote, a re-election or whatever? They'd have to have like whatever the hell it's called. I forget.
I think what
special one.
I'm not really sure about that, but what I am positive about what it would show is that they, like I said, in the districts, in the states and everything, if they all of a sudden had all of these votes and you could go back and you could prove, like, hey, 90% of the people in this district voted for themselves, or 40% in this district voted themselves. How in the world are you getting this amount of vote? I think it could show big time the voter irregularities in what the numbers that they're going to give. And I think if nothing else, that would really, and if you could do that all around the country, great time of day, because I've always wondered really how many people actually go out and vote for the presidential election and all of that. How many people actually get off of their butts? Because we're talking about Americans here, and America is some of the laziest cats, especially when it comes to extracurricular activities. They rather sit there and watch it all on the TV, and maybe they support one of the people. But as far as going out and vote, I mean, I don't know, unless they caught a ride with somebody. I mean, I always wondered how many people went out to vote. It's like a lot of these laws that they pass, a lot of these things that they pass, instead of actually, trying to put somebody else and go through the whole system again and vote for, how many people vote for a senator or a congressman to go in there, representatives, local representatives and stuff. I mean, if they actually just, hey, we're a highly technological advanced civilization here. Most everybody at least got access to a computer here. Why can't we vote on the laws? Why can't we vote? Oh, hey, American people want us to support, the Syrian rebels and they blah, 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 blah. Whatever the issue is, if they gave it to us, here you go, come out once a week, Mr. and Mrs. USA there, and actually vote for a lot of the things that are going on in the country that affects us all, I wonder, I think that would actually work. I mean, a lot better than what they got now, but as far as the presidential stuff, I just wonder how many people actually go out and vote, and I bet it's a lot lower than's put out there for us, and and everything. But I wish I had the money to get like one secure website and actually put this through, man, because I think it would be off the chain, man.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. We're all part of this together, as I always say to you. We're standing shoulder to shoulder, side by side. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of you that listen to this broadcast and listen to this network. And that's just live. And I know there's thousands and thousands and thousands more that hear the rebroads and that listen on YouTube and that go over to federaljack.com or go over to popeyeradio.com and they download all of the archives. So I know there's tons of you out there that hear my voice. Let's get on it. Let's work together. Let's do this. Let's spread the word for real. Scotty Lopez, I know you're going to hear this either live or on the rebroad. We need your meme-making abilities, my brother. I'll hit you up later. Seriously, all of us. Everybody that's really good at Photoshop, graphic designers, let's go.
And you think about the other people out there. I mean, why did they go out there and they vote for or right or left? wing. Why do they go out there? Because it's like we were talking about, the divide. Here's your choices, really. Basically, here's the Republican. Here's the Democrat. Whoever's running, a lot of people just vote because well, I've never voted Republican or I never voted Democrat or all my friends are voting this way, and we're all going to get in the carpool and go do it. If they have something else besides like a third party candidate. Or something like that. If they had something that was hip and it was 2016, like for the younger votes, and they seen that, hey, look at all these people doing it. They jump on the bandwagon. They would. And it'd be a good thing. I mean, it sucks that people have to jump on bandwagons, but if it was a good bandwagon like this would be, I think that, they might learn something as well. Yeah, it would be great. It'd be great. And I would just, like I said, I would love to see just the voting irregularities in all of the places around the country of them trying to come up with some excuse why, this person won or that person won. Because, I mean, imagine a president actually won by a vote and only, let's just say 75,000 people in the entire country or 100,000 people in the entire country. They voted. That was it. That was it. And the entire country voted. And that was it. That was the numbers. I mean, they would spoof it. That would probably mean only 70,000. If it was 100,000, maybe 50,000, 70,000, whatever voted. But like I said, that's why you would have to have some place, an outlet for people to really put their votes. Because you know how the black box voting goes and stuff. They're going to jink the numbers and everything. But they have a place like, well, wow. And they would hack that place. That's why I said you would have to have some really strong coders and really strong security people and everything else really in there, and to be able to keep it from getting hacked. And people saying, oh well, that's just a bunch of fake people saying this and that and something else. But I think it would be really crazy.
It's just an idea. And it's not really because people are going to probably hear this and be like, Popeye, are you encouraging voting? I thought you don't vote. I don't. I vote for like local things. I vote for state level things, county things, and even, senators and congressmen. I'll vote for them because you've seen people get voted out in that aspect. But when it comes for the president, I don't vote for the president. It's pointless because they're selected. I vote for myself.
Well, it's a lot easier to do on smaller things, in smaller elections and everything than an entire spread country. The country's very vast, and everything. In smaller things, definitely local community laws or representatives and stuff like that. Even, I mean, it's basically like, wow, nobody came out to support this guy, but he got in. I mean, that kind of draws the red flags to people.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So I'm not saying vote. I'm not pushing the idea. It's not like rock the vote, but actually, in this instance, everybody should go out and just vote for themselves, because that would actually, then you'd have the turnout, you'd have the numbers, and you'd have somewhat of, if you had 40% of the people that actually did this, then that 40% of the people would be paying attention to the outcome, and there'd be 40% of the people getting pissed off on social media, YouTube, Facebook, everything else. Imagine that. And I know people go, that's just a utopia, Popeye. That'll never happen. That's the first problem, is the effing attitude problem that everybody's got in this country. Everybody's Debbie Downer. Oh, we don't have a hope of pulling anything like this off, Ken. We don't. And I want to segue into the divide and conquer part from here, because, well, I mean, we already kind of went through it, but the another aspect of it is the outcome of all this is like the depression. We're not going to get through this. It's almost like people feel hopeless at this point.
Oh, look at the anti-war protests. I mean, right leading up to the Iraq War, even. I mean, you take that as an example. Look, I mean, hundreds of thousands of people showing up, millions of people on the same day around the world, and all of this, and then all of a sudden, the war started. Once the war started, all of a sudden, it started to die down. The wind was taken out of people. That's what I thought when Obama went in. I was like, here's all of the anti-war people who are totally in support of this guy who's going to get us out of Iraq, which today here is, 2016, we're still there. But anyhow, I would figure like, well, hey, and I talked to some of them because I have a lot of friends on the West Coast who were totally Obama heads. And they were like, I'm like, why aren't y'all out protesting? You would figure here's your guy. He's in there. He's going to listen to you. He's going to do what you say. Why aren't you out screaming louder than ever? I mean, you were out there screaming when somebody who wasn't going to listen to you, that you didn't like, who was totally against whatever you represented. And now here's a guy that supposedly represents, what you're doing. And you're not going to scream towards him and talk to him. I mean, it's crazy. They take the wind out of you. It's no doubt. And people do get like this. Why even try? We're not going to do anything. They've already won and all this crap. And I'm like, man, this battle been going on for a long time, people. Long time. And many people have written about it for a long time. They made music. They made art. They made all of these things out there. They were doing it, a long time ago. And I always go back to, they can't win. With that mentality of enslavement, they cannot win at all. There will always be revolution. That's what I call it. I know a lot of people don't like to call it, because if it's a revolution, it's got to be armed and all this crap. No. Not at all. The revolution has been going on since people wanted to enslave other people, look down on other people, control other people. There's revolution has been going on, and you could read it in books from hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years ago, in writings. People have always tried to enslave people, and people have always fought. It's a slow, steady process. World War I never ended. World War II never ended. It was a war that's been going on for a very long time. And what we do is we do our part, and we do it, and we try to do it different. We take all the information, everything was handed to us. We take it forward, we hand it to other people, and we keep going. It's a slow and steady fight, but we got to keep going on, and do not let these turds tell us, or dictate to us that we have lost. Why even try? Why even try? What was here before the United States? What was going on for the United States? What was going on before the gun was invented? We were such a peaceful world before the gun came out, and made it so violent. No, this has always been going on, don't you think?
It's psychological warfare. They know that they couldn't just come up and beat us. They can't just come up and smack us in the face, okay? So one of the ways that, like, if you're going to attack an opponent, right, one of the things that you do, you notice a lot of warriors will grunt and scream. Now, a lot of times, that, at least in Asian cultures, I know part of that is also channeling chi energy into your blows and into the things that you do. And it's some of them believe, and in some cases, I would say it almost looks like they're correct, that it might enhance the power of their blows with the punches here, or there. But
it absolutely does.
The screaming does more than that. It's also psychological, right? It produces fear in whoever or whatever you're attacking or defending yourself from. And that's the same thing. It's a psychological operation, right? They're beating people over their own heads, telling everyone, you're not powerful enough. You lack the power. You lack you know what? Sit back. We'll handle things. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's bullshit. I will stand here and tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that is absolute, unadulterated bullshit. You are the most powerful thing ever. Human beings have infinite potential. Remember that.
Wow, exactly. The song that has never been written, the painting that has never been painted before. I mean, really think about it. You think that, oh, wow, everything has been written about before. All paintings have been painted. They're just, no, we're irreplaceable individual beings that see the world different, that will never be in this capacity again if we free our minds enough to we're not just carbon copies, but the individual irreplaceable being that has never been before and will never be again is within each one of us. We just have to realize that and pitch into the pot the ideas. That is how songs that have never been written before continue to come out. And I know music sucks, and getting older, you look back and go, man, music sucks. But still things come out that reach different people, different genres. All of this, just like paintings that have never been painted before are being painted. Writings, books, everything, videos, everything that comes out. And that's going to continue on, because we're we are a special being. I mean, we really are, as far as creativity and stuff, and communication and everything else. And that's the thing that they try to take us away from. And they try to, here's your music, here's your art, here's the same refeed of everything that came before, and it drowned. I mean, it's such a complex system that they have, a psychological battle that they put out there that gets into people's heads to make them feel, powerless. And like, so why even try when the fact is that, like, there's somebody out there that could have think about it. I always look at it as like a smiley face. Look at this simplistic thing, a circle, 3 dots, and a curved line, right? This is universal. This is universal. I mean, you could take this anywhere, and you've been able to take this anywhere. And somebody who had never seen this before would know exactly what this was, and that's so powerful to have such a simplistic thing. People sitting there in the middle of the night, sitting there going to bed, could have the answer to it all. But feel so defeated that there's no way that they even apply to put it out there for other people. And that is the problem. It's like you said, every single person is different. Deep down, under all of that crap that they manipulate us with, is different and can come up with a nice big piece of that puzzle.
I actually wholeheartedly believe in humanity. And I say this, and sometimes I lose my faith for a second. Even I lose, not completely, but I'll get pissed off to the point where I want to woodshed humanity, and then I'll see something where somebody helps, like an old lady across the street, or in the case of the guy on the New York City subway, he gave his shirt and his hat to a shirtless, cold, homeless guy who was obviously out of his mind, and he didn't just hand it to him. He helped him put it on and put the hat on the guy too. All right, so like things like that restore my faith to a large degree. I don't quite often get pissed off and want to woodshed humanity as a whole, but there are times I do. But nonetheless, I believe in humanity because I understand the true potential of everybody out there. I understand what everybody that's listening right now is capable of. You're all amazing individuals. You all just do not realize it. Many of you do now, though. You're learning and you're seeing it. And there's so many of you out there that are fresh and tuning in and just learning this. But I promise you, if you keep searching, you keep on your journey, and you keep true to yourself, and you be true to yourself, you be good to those around you, it's going to get more interesting. You're going to learn more. And you'll start to believe more in yourself, just like Ken and I do. Stay tuned. We'll be back in 3 short minutes. When we come back into the second hour, I'm going to come back in playing a piece of audio for you all. Stay tuned.
Chris Geo here, founder of Truth Frequency Radio. On November 5th, GFR will be 6 years old, and with every anniversary, this is a time for great reflection. As an avid listener of talk radio myself, I got sick and tired of listening to talk networks that were created for the sole purpose of trying to sell me snake oil. When I found out that the hosts are actually contractually obligated to disguise advertisements in the form of their news stories, I knew that I couldn't trust alternative media any more than the mainstream. That's when I knew I had to build TFR as an ad-free and 100% listener-supported station. My personal promise to you is that when you listen to TFR, you'll always be able to trust what you hear. You can be part of this media paradigm shift right now by becoming a TFR supporter today and letting the corporate-controlled media know that the message is far too important to dilute in hidden advertisements and hidden agendas. Together, we are TFR, your protection from deception.
Jacob Frank Leibovich is the mastermind behind a global network of satanic cults. He taught that the creator God was evil. Jacob Frank proclaimed himself as the true Messiah. He vowed never to tell the truth. He rejected every moral law and declared that the only way to a new society was through the total destruction of civilization. Murder, rape, incest, and the drinking of blood were perfectly acceptable actions and rituals. His followers established the Marxist system and have infiltrated Islam and Judaism. He was the Messiah of the Illuminati.
EnigmaTV.com Portal to Ascension is bringing forth groundbreaking information and awareness from the world's top visionaries, scientists, speakers, authors, doctors, and spiritual leaders that are assisting humanity in unlocking their true consciousness. We explore and pioneer cutting-edge information from globally renowned leaders on conscious topics through our integrated multimedia platform for online and live events. These events are designed to empower and increase awareness for all of humanity, so we may collectively shift into a paradigm based on unity, transparency, and truth. We explore a wide variety of consciousness relating to self-empowerment, sacred sound and vibration, UFO disclosure, ET awareness, true ancient history, quantum mechanics, metaphysics, conscious living, and spirituality. Our online platform is designed to assist you in expanding and awakening your consciousness. The Portal to Ascension website can take you front row seat live to the educators, teachers, and wisdom keepers themselves. Log on now to www.portaltoascension.
No hate, no hype, no fear. We are TFR. Truth Frequency Radio.
I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin. I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. I'm going to show them a world without you. A world without rules and controls, without borders or boundaries. A world where anything is possible. Where we go from there is a choice I leave to you.
President John F. Kennedy.
Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day, It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. No president should fear public scrutiny of his program, for from that scrutiny comes understanding, and from that understanding comes support or opposition, and both are necessary. I am not asking your newspapers to support an administration, but I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people. For I have complete confidence in the response and dedication of our citizens whenever they are fully informed. I not only could not stifle controversy among your readers, I welcome it. This administration intends to be candid about its errors. For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. We intend to accept full responsibility for our errors, and we expect you to point them out when we miss them. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. And that is why our press was protected by the First Amendment, the only business in America specifically protected by the Constitution, not primarily to amuse and entertain, not to emphasize the trivial and the sentimental, not to simply give the public what it wants, but to inform, to arouse, to reflect, to state our dangers and our opportunities, to indicate our crises and our choices, to lead, mold, educate, and sometimes even anger public opinion. This means greater coverage and analysis of international news, for it is no longer far away and foreign, but close at hand and local. It means greater attention to improved understanding of the news, as well as improved transmission. And it means, finally, that government at all levels must meet its obligation to provide you with the fullest possible information outside the narrowest limits of national security. And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
Either we heal as a team, or we're going to crumble. Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished. We're in hell right now, gentlemen, believe me. And we can stay here, get the shit kicked out of us, or we can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell. 1 inch at a time. You know, when you get old in life, things get taken from you. I mean, that's part of life. But you only learn that when you start losing stuff. You find out life's this game of inches. So is football. Because in either game, life or football, the margin for error is so small. I mean, 1/2 a step too late or too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us. Hell yeah. They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second. On this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw our fingernails for that inch. Because we know when we add up all those inches, That's gonna make the fucking difference between winning and losing. Between living and dying. I'll tell you this, in any fight, it's the guy who's willing to die who's gonna win that inch. And I know if I'm gonna have any life anymore, it's because I'm still willing to fight and die for that inch. Because that's what living is. There's 6 inches in front of your face. Now I can't make you do it. You gotta look at the guy next to you. Look into his eyes. Now I think you're gonna see a guy who will go that inch with you. No, you don't. You're gonna see a guy who will sacrifice himself for this team because he knows when it comes down to it, you're gonna do the same for him. That's a team. It's a team. And either we heal now as a team, or we will die as individuals.
Ideas are bulletproof.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Ideas are bulletproof. Welcome back for hour number 2 here on tonight's live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Popeye, from FederalJack.com, PopeyeRadio.com, and, of course, my YouTube archive section, DTRH Radio Archives, Delta Tango Romeo Hotel Radio Archives over on YouTube. So I wanted to start off hour 2 by playing that. It's been a while since I've aired that. It's something I call Inches, and it's a piece of audio I put together years ago. That last part's actually my original intro, the Pacino speech I redid years ago. And I find it that it's motivational and inspirational. And the listeners, it's always been a listener favorite. It's been a while since I've played it, and I know because I can see it. I can see it on the faces of people, on hearing what they're saying. People are stressed. Everything that's going on it's beating people down to one degree or another. Once in a while, everybody needs a pep talk. That's what we're supposed to do. We're up here. People look to us for advice, and they look to us to sometimes guide them. I don't like to say leaders. I like to say we're more guides. Ken, myself, Joe, Kev, Chris, Sheree, all the other hosts, everybody that does this type of thing and that does it for, true, honest reasons from the goodness and kindness and love of their heart. We're guides. We're just helping all of you in that dark tunnel to see that light that's at the end of it. And the beautiful part is you're that light, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I always tell you the solutions to our problems are an inside job. So I decided to blow the dust off of some of the inspirational stuff tonight because I know you can all use it. I got another one.
People need it, definitely. Absolutely. I did a show. I need to do another one because I hadn't did it maybe in a year or 2, but I would catch a lot of flack because in that way I came up with the concept is a lot of people said, change the channel, Kenneth, you're preaching to the choir. And I'm like, well, the choir actually needs it. They need that support. I call it cheerleading. I did a message to the choir, and that's where I would just speak to the choir. If you're not a part of it, then you don't have to listen. This message is not for you. You try to wake people up, and I do that too. I try to wake people up in different fashions. Excuse me, but we need that inspiration. That was very inspirational. You need that out there. And that's the whole beauty of the social media out there. I mean, it has all its dark sides and its bad sides and all of this. But one good thing that I really love about that, I've always loved about the internet, is that it allows people out there who feel so alone in their thoughts that sometimes they won't even speak it out loud because they're surrounded by other people who are just going by, the norm, the social norm. They don't want to speak out of line. They have ideas, concepts, and sometimes they start to question yourself. And I remember at times through my life thinking the same way and feeling the same way. Am I just crazy for thinking the way I do? Is something wrong with me? Why isn't it other people around me don't think this way or see this way and all of this kind of things. And the beauty of it is with the social media and out there and everything in the internet is that we can be with those people who are surrounded and say, hey, you're not alone. You're not alone. Or the people that are out there that know they're not alone, but they feel so isolated and so beat down, like we were talking about earlier and everything. They need that inspiration. We need that inspiration. Back in the day during protests, I had a sound system. I was in a sound system, played music, DJed and all this stuff. But we used to go out to protest. I mean, around different kinds of protests, anti-protests, animal rights protests. Went down and protest with Shoshone Indians down there at that Bechtel nuclear site and all that stuff. And we would bring sound system, inspirational music, something that we could bring that would pump people up, because people will get so, I mean, even at a protest or anything like that, they get so blah, 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 and all of that. You got to pump them up. The choir needs to be pumped up. The choir needs to know they're not alone. The choir needs to go like, yes, we're still fighting. And it's not about being a leader, like you said, Popeye. We're not trying to be a leader or anything, because I always see us as equals. I'm fortunate enough, I can speak for myself, that I've taught myself video editing and I know, some different things, and I've been doing it for a while. So I've been able to have the experience to be able to express myself. And I hope that always comes across the people out there, that we, hey, don't think that you can't do anything that we're doing, because you can. You can do it. You can put your voice out there. You could do blogs. You can do whatever it is to get your message out there and be a part of the team. We're no different. I'm no special. I'm not any special than anybody out there and stuff. And it's needed. It's absolutely needed for every single person out there to be a part of that puzzle, part of that solution. Get it out there. Get it out on the net. Get it out there for people to see, for people to hear. And, and you will find like-minded people that will, be with you and be a part of that kind of thing. I think it's a beautiful thing.
Agreed. We're all in this together. It's not like, that's why I say we're not, I know the old way of looking at things would be to say, well, people would say, because I've even had this emailed to us, to me, and I've heard this from people and say, oh, you guys are leaders. And no. We're guides. We're just helping you through the same dark tunnel that we were in, and we're still in, but we understand things a little better. And we're just helping you to get to that same level of understanding. We're not better than you. Ken and I both taught ourselves everything we know. All the graphic design, video editing, audio editing, all that stuff. We are self-taught. We didn't go to college for that.
I went to college for photography. That's what I did.
Right. See,
I mean, and everything else, video that editing, any of that, I just did. And anybody out there that ever wants to just, chat it up or whatever on Facebook or anywhere else, have any questions about getting something out there, I love working with other people, and I'm, like I said, I'm no master of anything, I just like working with other people. I like putting ideas, concepts together.
YouTube tutorials.
Exactly.
Dude, you know how many 14-year-old kids on YouTube taught me how to use Photoshop? I would look up something and there'd be like some 14-year-old whiz kid, oh, you do this, and this. And I was like, whoa, hold on. Whoa, I got to go back and watch that 4 times because you're going too fast, kid. And I'm glad that these youngsters do this. And, it's amazing to see how quick these kids are with this. It'll be interesting to see how, what they're capable of when they're young adults. Yeah, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. Would, I learn a lot from people that are younger than me when it comes to certain things, like some new, editing technology or something. There's a lot of people that know more because they've gotten a chance to go to college and take these classes and stuff. So, and
I was the same way.
Tutorials. I'm not ashamed. Hey, I ain't too proud to learn.
Exactly. A matter of fact, I will say that I have been doing Photoshop for over 20 years. And I did it professionally in my own business, and everything, because I was taking photography, and they had a self-learning lab. They didn't even teach Photoshop, but it was like Photoshop 2.0. And I went in there and I learned that. And my photography instructor, he was awesome guy, old school though, and he was like, yeah, that all crap right there is going to take away from the integrity of it or whatever, but you can go in there and, teach yourself and work with it. And I did it. I've always did that because I never had, had the money to pay anybody to take my art or a message and put it out there. So you got to do it yourself. I mean, even if you take whatever it is, take a little time to, like you said, YouTube help videos. I mean, you can learn anything on YouTube nowadays,
There's nothing wrong with being an autodidact, which is a self-taught individual.
Oh, yeah. I think you learn it better because you learn as you do, and everything. But yeah, people need to really get out there and do it, whatever they're good at. I've seen people who can swear up and down they can't draw. And then they're around other people who are doing it and watch them evolve as an artist, just drawing. People can do it if they're in the right environment and they have the right support system around them. A lot of times it inspires them more. I mean, some people can just do it on their own and go off and do things like that. But a lot of times it's just like spreading the message and stuff. A lot of times you got to have a little bit of support, somebody to go like, hey, yeah, you could do anything you want to do if you put your mind to it,
I agreed 100%. And that's the whole point of us doing this broadcast tonight, is to try to give people that pep talk that they need. And with that in mind, Ken, I'm going to play the second piece of audio. It's a piece of audio I put together about a year and a half ago. I've retweeted it out. I guess almost 2 years ago now, or 3. No, it was back in 2013. Wow. Anyway, it's called "Think Outside the Box." And I'm going to play this for you all now. There's a little bit of music involved in the background here, but I think you'll all like it. Pay attention. It's about 5.5 minutes. The only way to get out of this is to think outside the box. You can't fix a problem with the same level of thinking that created it. Everything presented to you is always presented to you as if you're in a box. And if you're standing in this box, you see the walls to your left, you see the walls to your right. You see them in front, you see them in back. If you look down, you see a solid floor because you can feel it underneath your feet. So you don't even bother to think to look up. And the powers that shouldn't be, growing up and through our whole lives, make sure they push that into our face. And they push and they push and they push and they push and they push. And they remind us of their propaganda on a daily basis. You have no power. You have no power. Don't look up. Look to the sides and look down. Don't look up. There's no point. If you look up, you'll only realize how close the ceiling is to you, and you'll feel claustrophobic. So just look straight ahead, or around you, or down. Fear, 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 fear. You need us. You need us. Remember that. You need us. And you never look up. You always look around, you look down, and you just assume, hey, they're right. And everything is presented to you in this fashion, that the only solutions are what are presented to you inside this box. And picture the walls of this box like video screens. And all these events happen, you can see things going on. There's really never solutions ever offered. There's never critical thinking offered. There's only one or two options offered. Usually it's A or B, and you have to pick. It gives you the faux choice of picking when both options lead to the same thing. They've been playing this game for a very long time. The way to beat it is to look up. When you look up, you'll realize there is no ceiling. Nothing but blue sky. That'll make your brain say, wow, that's odd. I thought there was a ceiling there. And you suddenly realize that you're not so tiny in this box, but actually you're cramped in there real tight. All squeezed up tight. You feel very constricted. And suddenly you step up. You just stand up straight. And you stretch your body out. You take a big breath. stretch your muscles out and you hear your bones creaking and cracking, everything's starting to align itself. And you realize when you clear your eyes and you rub your eyes and you look around you that there's infinite possibility all around you wherever you can see. And when you look down at your feet, you suddenly realize that that box is very, very small. And you were cramped up in there. Where you thought you were standing inside of a large box, you're actually cramped up in there, all squeezed up. But you didn't realize that in reality, because in your mind, they had you thinking you were a very small, powerless individual. When in reality, you're like a colossus. You just stood up out of that box. And it's tiny. It's like a tiny little shoebox now that you're standing in. And then you step outside of that box and you start to look around you and you realize the infinite possibilities around you. And that's when you can actually start to achieve your true potential. That's how they control us. And the way of beating their methods of control is that simple, because once you step outside of that box, ladies and gentlemen, you make them irrelevant. And that's how we win, is by making them irrelevant. They are set and armed and prepped for a physical fight with us. They want us to think that it's either total capitulation or bloody revolution. Again, a choice of only A or B. When in reality, the real choice is to step out of the situation and don't play the game. Period. I want you all to think about that. We're going to be going into break in about 30 seconds. Just think outside the box. And when Ken and I come back in the final segment, I'm going to try to drill into your heads one more time, to use an old school term, even though I don't think I have to push that hard. I don't like to push ideas hard. I like to present them and let you do the thinking for yourself. But I'm going to put it out there one more time for you. There is no such thing as the no-win scenario. We'll be right back.
Truth Frequency Radio is your #1 source for news and information without the hate, hype, and fear. We are proud to bring you cutting-edge programs like The Rundown Live with Mike and Kristen, Waking Up the Masses with Robert Bruce, The Covert Report with Susan Lindauer, Your DIY Health with Jim Ram, Down the Rabbit Hole with Popeye, The Christopher Everard Show, Real Politics with Professor James Tracy, Agent for Truth with Joe Bannister, and dozens more. Did you know you can listen from any computer, mobile device, or from any telephone by dialing 832-225-5308, or call into your favorite show toll-free at 866-37-TRUTH. Uncensored talk and news you won't hear in the mainstream media 24 hours a day. Truth Frequency Radio. Wherever you are, make it TFR. Truth Frequency Radio.
As the world and time progresses at the speed of advancing technology, another all too vital craft is left in the shadows of ancient relics, with little to no sign of its majestic use and purpose. The Keymaker sequel is an innovative spiritual revival designed to awake and unlock the cosmos within, by restoring the codes and commands of a vast organic mainframe that encompasses both Earth and your own personal universe. Join your host, Seven Bomar, creator of the world-renowned platforms Astral Quest and Secret Energy, for an amazing adventure in uncovering life's greatest secrets that transcend beyond time and space. Tune in and listen live every Saturday at 5 p.m. Pacific on Truth Frequency Radio.
3 years in the making, Milwaukee's alternative news and talk radio is here with Merchquake 2015. That's right, now's your chance to get your hands on and contribute and get new swag and new perks, new merch designs. Keep the Rundown Live 100% listener funded. For more videos, more news, and better radio, contribute now to the rundownlive.com 2015 Merchquake.
Hey guys, it's Mike and Kristan here from the Rundown Live, and we're excited to announce our official Indiegogo campaign.
That's right, guys. Merchquake 2015 is here, and if you want to get your hands on some stylish Rundown Live swag and support our broadcast, this is the time to do it. Keep us 100% listener funded and supported by you. Check out some of the great perks as well as great merchandise and contribute today.
Make sure you guys check out the awesome gear on Indiegogo, and don't forget to check out therundownlive.com.
Exposing Faux Capitalism with Jason Erm. Saturday on Truth Frequency Radio.
Chasing rabbits, and you know you're going to fall. Challamahuka, smoking caterpillar has given you a call. Call Alice when she was just small.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Final segment, tonight's live edition, DTRH. Remember, if you want to listen to all my older shows, for all the newer listeners, I know the older listeners know this, but if you want to listen to all the older broadcasts I've ever done, special broadcasts, guest appearances, guest co-hosting, guest hosting, and all of the DTRH broadcasts that I've got rendered up to date, there's probably about 15 that aren't up there yet, but other than that, I'm always in this stage of getting caught up. It's like just about outrunning the tidal wave of info that I've put together over the years. Crazy stuff, but I do it myself, so it's kind of hard. I don't have a crew. The crew is moi, and sometimes life gets in the way. And in the past year, I've decided that certain aspects of my personal life are way more important and have to become first, second, and third, and then this. And it's just about reorganizing priorities, and that's the way it is. So anyway, here in the final segment, I want to get into what I promised I said I was going to get into. And that is the article, and I know I've talked about this many times, but I need to reiterate it again because it's important for people to hear this. The article that I wrote a couple months back called Lessons Learned from the Kobayashi Maru. Now, the reason I keep bringing this article up is because it's an extremely important thing for people to read. And it's not just because I wrote it. I mean, if Ken wrote it or somebody else wrote it, I would be pushing it the same. And I'm going to read it on air for you. I'm going to read it on air and then expand on it. I'm going to get Ken's thoughts on it as well. Here we go. Lessons learned from the Kobayashi Maru. In fact, before I do this here, I'll drop the link in the chat room. There you go. You're hearing me hit enter. And the chatters can listen if they want. Otherwise, you can go over to federaljack.com, and it's right on the front. You just scroll down. I think it's like the third post that's on the front there. Here we go. Lessons learned from the Kobayashi Maru. As I look at the world with all its craziness and doom as of late, I am reminded of the Kobayashi Maru test from the Star Trek series. Allow me to explain further. The Kobayashi Maru is a Starfleet training exercise designed to test the character of cadets in the command track at Starfleet Academy. The test's name is occasionally used among Star Trek fans or those familiar with the series to describe a no-win scenario or a solution that involves redefining the problem and testing one's character. I want you to remember that little part right there, ladies and gentlemen, redefining the problem, because we're going to come back to that in a minute. The notional primary goal of the exercise is to rescue the civilian vessel Kobayashi Maru in a simulated battle with the Klingons. The disabled ship is located in the Klingon neutral zone, and any Starfleet ship entering the zone would cause an interstellar incident. The approaching cadet crew must decide whether to attempt rescue of the Kobayashi Maru crew, endangering their own ship and lives, or leave the Kobayashi Maru to certain destruction. If the cadet chooses to attempt rescue, the simulation is designed to guarantee that the ship is destroyed with the loss of all crew members. Captain James T. Kirk took the test 3 times while at Starfleet Academy. Before his 3rd attempt, Kirk went behind the scenes and reprogrammed the simulator so that it was possible to rescue the freighter. I want you to pause and think about that for a second. He secretly went behind the scenes. He did what he had to do, and what did he do? He reprogrammed the simulator. Remember that again. I want you to remember, he reprogrammed the simulator. Captain Kirk is accused at one point later in his career as never actually having faced a no-win situation, to which he replies that he doesn't believe in such a thing. To quote James T. Kirk, "I don't believe in no-win scenarios." Now, how does all of this science fiction story apply to our current real-world situation? Any of them? Well, here's how. All Captain Kirk did, all he did, was think outside the box. When he thought outside the box, he said, I'll reprogram the simulation. He looked at the problem, and he came up with a solution on his own. Now, in the series, he was awarded a commendation because of how he handled the situation and for original thinking. Now, our award or commendation would be solving the problem itself. We just need to apply the same level of thinking with our real-world issues. A simple shift in perspective, a simple shift in the way we look at the world and all its problems is the basis of all the solutions we are looking for. We are literally the solutions to our problems. Be like Captain James T. Kirk. Don't believe in the no-win situation. Instead, believe in yourselves as the solutions to the problems we all face together. I love you all and believe in you all. Now go be the superheroes I know you are. Go be the change. Now, I urge you all to share that article because it's not because I wrote it or it's on Federal Jack. It's got nothing to do with clicks. I want people to read that, and I want it to sink into their heads. So share it, please. I shouldn't say I want. I would like. It's not about what I want. The reason I would like people to read it is because I would like people's brains to be engaged into a higher gear and think a little bit more. It's the whole reason I do what I do, and I wrote that article. Now, I mentioned 2 things that I wanted to go back to. The first thing was, what did Kirk do? He reprogrammed the simulator. Don't we always say that we live in the Matrix? I constantly quote the movie The Matrix. And I've talked with Mark Passio about this before. I've talked about it before on other people's shows like Kev's show. I've talked about it on here before, on Freaky Friday, on Joe's show. We live in a simulation like The Matrix, right? I've talked about it quite often.
I think it's important to note that you remember how Spock's reaction to it was, too. That, because he's very logical thinking, right? The character Spock, he's very logical thinking. But it happened through, all of the Star Treks. He'd be like, that's not logical. It's not logical. That's kind of a representation of the box. He would get into, the mathematics of it, the percentage chance of survival or anything like that. And Kirk stepped out of the box at all times. I mean, of course, he learned to respect that about Kirk. He would always throw it in there. But I always thought that was important to note, from that article and everything that, hey, it's 1,000-to-1 odds or something like that. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Go out of that box. Go out of the box.
Well, again, we're in the Matrix. We're in the simulation. So be like Kirk. Just reprogram it. Well, I don't understand what you mean, Popeye. What I mean is, if things aren't working, then you rewrite the rules. Sometimes you can't win. If the rules are set to be against you, you can't win by playing by them.
And if you think you're going to lose, and so why even bother to even try? Like that is set up to where there is supposedly, until he reprogram it, it's set up to you're going to lose. Absolute. He goes and thinks outside the box, and he goes and does it. It's the same thing. It's metaphorical of our minds. If we think that because of the things that confine us in this box that we can't do something, then it's definitely not going to get done. It's not going to happen if you think that way. But if you think outside that box, it opens up a doorway to a whole lot of other things.
That's all it takes is a shift in perspective and realizing that you have the power yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, to do things. Some schmuck in a suit in Washington voting on something isn't going to solve the problem. And waiting for somebody to come along and do it for you isn't going to solve the problem either. We've seen how both of those end up. That's why I always say at the end of the show, you are the solutions, right? I always push that. I say the solutions to our problems are an inside job. Go be the superheroes you all are. Because I actually believe in that. And look how much good has already come about. I mean, Ken, you and I have been around for a very long time doing this. And when you and I both first started doing this, there was no way as many people awake and aware as there were now. In fact, I would say it was even more dangerous back when we first started doing this because you couldn't bring this up in bars without threats of violence from people. And, now a lot of the stuff that people might not have wanted to talk about back in the day are everyday, almost common talking points. And the mainstream media and the politicians, they have to hijack it because we've made it. You, ladies and gentlemen, have made it the main talking points. They actually had to adjust their focus because of the alternative media. And they're learning how to handle the alternative media. Don't make any mistake about that either. But they had to adjust their focus in the way they deal with things because of how many people are waking up. So I know the world looks really crappy and it looks like people are going back to sleep and people are stupid. And to a degree, people are getting distracted. We don't give up. That's what the enemy wants. If you want to look at it in terms of a battle, it's psychological warfare. They are few, we are many. The only way that they can literally, truly defeat us is if we allow them to defeat us. We have to defeat ourselves mentally first. Like Sun Tzu said, every battle is won before the combatants ever enter the battlefield. Because they've made it up in their mind mentally already as to whether or not they're going to win because they've allowed their doubt to already destroy them in their own heads, or quite the opposite, where they know they're going to win.
It's definitely, and totally, I mean, think about it. Most of the time, I mean, as far as us, I'll speak for myself, and I won't speak for everybody. I'll just speak for myself. A lot of times I find myself sitting there waiting for them to make the move before I make the move. Something, whether it's politically or events or something that comes out that I can take and take and break down and all this stuff and then try to, explain and do whatever. But I find myself sitting there waiting for them to make the move. And if you're waiting for them all the time, they're always the ones making the first move. We have to make the move sometimes. We have to step outside the box, like you said. We have to, and instead of waiting for an event to happen before we talk about the things that are actually going to happen, people need to, I'll speak for myself. I hate talking about what other people need to do because then I just sound egotistical and all this stuff. For myself, I'm still working on it, and that's something that I think I will say that everybody has to do. But we all have to settle back within ourselves and remember that, we have to make moves too. And we see it. We see if something happens and their reactions, they're thinking way ahead of us. They have all the information and everything else. So a lot of times we're playing catch up, basically, through declassified documents or events and breaking it down as they give us information or whatever it is. But a lot of times we have to, stop and have those moments of of solitude within ourselves to sit there and think about things and think about how we react. A lot of times I'll do that. I'll think about how I react, how programmed I still am. Because I'm still programmed by them, and I still have knee-jerk reactions to the information and things that they put out there for us. I'm not, and I'll probably be that way for the rest of my life, but we're working on it. As long as you strive, you get knocked down, you get back up, you keep going. And I think a lot of times, that it's such I don't mean to go all over the place, but dang, it's such a complex equation of what they throw at us and what they do at us. And I can understand how people get down or people get brainwashed. I can understand all of that. I really can. I can understand how it happens to me, and I still to this day are putting out stuff and doing things that were inspired by them. It's a crazy concept that's within our mind that we really need to take that time to sometimes get away from it, sometimes not. I mean, think about, I guess the best way to explain it is video yourself or write down, have a log, a diary or something, and just talk about your day, not about politics, not about anything else. Just write your day's log of people, encounters with other people, your thoughts, your ideas. Then step back from that and then read what you did for that day. Think about what you did for the day, how you reacted. I mean, it's such a complex battle. I mean, it really is. It's coming from us from all different angles. And it's so powerful that it's really hard for us to break free from that. But it's not impossible. Don't get me wrong. We can, but we have to realize how they have boxed us in, how they have made us have knee-jerk reactions to certain things they say, certain things that they put into our heads to react with people who are on the same side. Like, look at the so-called truther movement, right? I mean, and look at me, I said it. What did I just do? The so-called truther movement. I said the same thing that other people say. That is a knee-jerk reaction, trying to communicate to people, I mean, but look how it would in our own groups of what we all believe, in the groups and everything we strive for, that we fight amongst each other. It's there from knee-jerk reactions. I mean, sometimes I have a loss of words because I really don't know how to put it down for people to understand me and what I'm saying sometimes. And sometimes I have a hard time understanding myself for that matter. But it's a really complex system. And like I said, the best things we can do is sometimes to break free, concentrate on ourselves. Look at how we react to common day events and things, and we will find out how brainwashed that each one of us is actually. Even myself, I'll say for myself, I'm brainwashed, and you just got to keep working through it. We got to keep working through it and do like Kirk did. Step out of it and go like, well, wow, what, a no-win situation? What? There's no such thing as a no-win situation. No, it's not. And he proved it. No, I just recoded it. I recoded it, and guess what? I won. Now, you can argue about, well, you cheated or you did this or did that. No.
He didn't cheat.
No, he didn't.
He
at all.
redefined the problem. That's the answer, Ken. That's one of the best answers I could give people when they say, well, how do I deal with this? Well, first we need to redefine the problem, right? Instead of looking at the situation like, well, the problem is there's this shadowy group of individuals that are trying to control the world, and they're going to because they have control of everything, and oh my God, it's overwhelming. And no. How about, that's not really the problem. I mean, it is a problem, but the bigger problem is getting the general public involved, because once those gears start turning, this stuff would stop. It would be put to an end. They wouldn't be able to do it if the people weren't willing to get involved and do their dirty work. Wars wouldn't happen if soldiers didn't pick up rifles. It's that simple. So the real problem isn't, oh my God, dark, scary, New World Order, overwhelming. The real problem is getting people to shift their perspective just a few inches. And that's it. And once they start to look at each other like fellow humans and care for one another again and get back into that love frequency. I know it sounds new agey. I get accused of your new age pop. No, I'm not. Mark Passio and I have had conversations about this plenty of times where we've debunked the new age movement, and him and I actually got into where we've both been accused of being new age kind of more in depth, and broke it down what the difference between the new age movement and things that I've talked about and he's talked about and others have talked about. All I'm trying to explain to you, ladies and gentlemen, is that the universe works on two simple frequencies, fear and love. And they've got everybody tuned into the fear frequency right now, and we can see how much of a shit show everything is. So once you start tuning into that love vibration and everybody shifts their perspective, that's the problem. I just redefined it, right? That's how we come up with solutions. You see how fast that works? Boom, 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 boom. You see how much it makes sense too? I know that if you're listening to me and you listen to my broadcast, that what I say makes sense to you, right? So all I did was think about the problem, and I redefined it. I thought about it a little differently. I looked at it from a different angle and went, oh, wait a minute. There's a different aspect to this. If we redefine the problems that we face today, perhaps they won't look so dark and scary. They won't look so overwhelming. And perhaps your brain will go out of fear and back into love, and that's when it'll go, like Bruce Lipton says. Look up Dr. Bruce Lipton, okay? Like Bruce Lipton says, you'll go from, it's like fight or flight. You go from, you have growth or protection. And when you're in protection, it's fight or flight, and your body's in survival mode, so you're not, all the blood from your viscera or your gut goes to your arms and your legs. There's no growth. Your growth comes from your stomach, which is also known as your second brain. So if there's no blood flow there, there's no growth. No growth, we replenish ourselves on a cellular level every 7 years. If there's no growth because we're constantly in fear and we're constantly in protection mode, what happens? You get disease. You notice how many people have got, how much the sick level or the level of disease and sickness has gone up exponentially since like 9/11, since all of that stress and fear was introduced 24/7. Fear. You notice how many more people are sick? I know there's other aspects to it too. But on a more base level, everyone's in protection mode. And their bodies, no one's growing. The people that are growing are the people that are getting out of that are growing.
Because that promotes the divide. It promotes the divide amongst people. It's like, have you ever had a person that normally, if they said something to you, you knock them upside their head, or you be sitting there arguing for hours, and you just took it upon yourself not to say a word, but listen to what they had to say. Now, and there's totally in disagreement with, agreement with what you believe, but you actually took the time to listen to them. And I've tested this theory out for decades. And I'm like I said, I'm not perfect by anything, and I won't be my entire life. And I will woke up on the wrong side of the bed, and I will cuss somebody out. I will knock somebody upside the head to catch me the wrong way, do something wrong to me. But when I have that ability to catch myself and actually listen to what somebody in opposition of me has to say, whether it's a troll, whoever it is, knowing the time to actually listen to what they're saying, to either, being able to counter it, to be able to try and listen to them and go like, I can see where you come from that. If you had this happen, and everybody has, but if you just didn't draw the line in the sand, left it open for the communication level, I've found that a lot of times that the person that I was sitting there in disagreement with, that we could both actually learn from each other, which goes back to you controlling yourself, not letting somebody else no matter whether it's the system, the turds that shouldn't be, the person sitting there trying desperately to draw that line in the sand, but actually taking control of the situation yourself and not being so responsive the way you're supposed to be and the way that they intend for you to be, you could actually create something, a communication line, and where you can actually learn some stuff and they can learn some stuff. I think a lot of times we have to do that kind of thing, is to stop, think, and then respond, instead of waiting, just for the person to finish so that you can jump in there and throw yours down real quick before they try to do the same thing back to you, because there's no communication going on. Communication, big key.
What did Rob Van Winkle, a.k.a. Vanilla Ice, say? Stop, collaborate, and listen?
Yep.
I'm just saying. No, I'm just throwing a little bit of
it's
bit of wisdom out there. No, but seriously,
it's true. It's absolutely true. We got to do that, and I've actually purposely stopped myself, not just for anything else, but for analysis. I did this like a couple of decades ago with a right-wing Republican who, when Bush was in office, and he wanted to sit there and argue me about 9/11 and all this kind of crap. And we argued that first night. We argued so much. And he was a kid, and all this stuff. And then after that, I was like, I consciously said, I'm not going to argue with this guy anymore. I'm going to listen to what he says, and I'm going to try to understand what he's talking about. And in doing so, me and this guy actually shared that. And he would come to me and say, well, what do you think about this? Everybody else told me this. I'm like, no, dude, learn for yourself. Dude, if you want to do something, do it. If you want to go and do these things, then do it. And he was like, oh, I'm surprised you're saying that. But I'm like, open up the lines of communication. It's hard to do sometimes, but I think that is a good way if you want to open somebody else's mind and do it a little differently outside the box.
Exactly. Think outside the box. Be the solution to the problem. Ken, we only got about a minute left. Thank you, brother, for coming on. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's good. Always good hanging with you, brother.
Man, every time we get on together, our brains are just like two A-bombs going off, sending out. But instead of radioactive death fallout, it's truth fallout. Everything that falls down is just information, and none of it is bad. It just is. It actually is what you do with it, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it is. Information just is. It's what you take from it and do with it yourselves that is actually the solution to the problem. Not me or Ken telling you anything. It's just us pointing you in the right direction. You actually taking that action. Thought, emotion, and action, like I said in the Matrix shows, like Passio talks about. That's the real Trinity, Morpheus, Neo, and Trinity. Thought, emotion, and action, all coming to one and actually doing something. Well, you have the power to do that. You don't have to wait for some superhero. You are that superhero. We're just your guides in this dark tunnel. That light at the end is actually coming from you. That's what we're trying to show you. Once you realize that, the level, the playing field is leveled, and you, ladies and gentlemen, will be the superheroes. We're out.
Attention. Attention. Do not attempt to adjust your radio. We are in control of it. It is no surprise to anyone listening to this broadcast that the alternative media has been controlled by corporate opportunists for the last decade. The truth you are seeking cannot be found with people who have agreed to use their talk network as a flea market. The mission to wake up humanity is far more important than the profits they hope to gain by diluting your consciousness. As such, you are tasked with shifting the paradigm and sending the message that the minds of independent thinkers like you can no longer be controlled. TFR is the only 100% listener-supported station and the last beacon of unadulterated truth. You too can become part of this media revolution by becoming a TFR supporter today to ensure that truth continues to prevail over corporate greed. Together, we are your protection from deception.
Well, hello there, Monica. Here you are again, which means you got something on your mind.
I do. I have lots of questions.
Well, what can I do for you?
Get some answers. Well, I'd like to do a video, if you don't mind, and talk about the compensation, because I have questions from lots of people They want to know this. This is the main question. How many ways can a person get paid from doTERRA?
Because this is, of course, Rebecca Roth.
If I had $1 for every time I said, how many ways can a person get paid from doTERRA? I would be rich, I have to tell you. It is amazing. Hi, this is Monica of doTERRA's Fix Your Health team. And then, yes, I, besides the 9/11 research, and talk about the compensation from doTERRA.